All right, the Steelers finally made a pick in the 2020 NFL Draft. I'm Missi Matthews, pleased to be joined by my cohort, Mike Prisuta. We are not together this year, but we are going to talk about the Steelers' 49th overall pick, wide receiver out of Notre Dame, Chase Claypool. Prisuta, I think we knew that there could be a skill position going with this first pick of the draft for them. What do you like about this guy?
Well, really, with Chase Claypool, Missi, there are kind of two stories to tell. One is just the physical package. He checks in at 6'4" and a quarter, 238 pounds. The guys, the three wide receivers that caught the most passes for the Steelers last year, Deontay Johnson's 5'10", Juju Smith-Schuster is 6'1", and James Washington is 5'11". You can't coach them to get taller. And when you have that 6'4" plus guy, Randy Fichtner, the offensive coordinator, talking about the size combined with Claypool's speed. He ran a 4.42 40-yard dash at the combine, and that really sent some ripples throughout Indianapolis when he did that. There had been some talk, Daniel Jeremiah and Steve Smith of the NFL Network were speculating before that 40 whether Claypool was a smaller tight end or a big wide receiver. Well, he ran that 40. He was a wide receiver. And Randy Fichtner talked a little while ago with us about when you have a guy that big and that fast, maybe that's somebody you have to cover down the field. And maybe that opens things up underneath for the other guys. Red zone target and a player who uses that physicality, not just as a receiver. He is a willing blocker. He played special teams all 4 years at Notre Dame. There are a lot of broken tackles on his tape. And another thing Randy Fichtner said, Missi, that really got my attention, he said 2 times, there's no job too small. This kid will do what you tell him to do. He's not a diva. He's a football player. He just happens to catch passes.
Yeah, I was going to say the whole volunteering to play special teams, not something a lot of wide receivers probably love to do, but Randy Fichtner was saying that on the conference call, as you said, besides being fast and physical, said mostly an outside guy, but has worked a little bit in the slot, as you mentioned. Just the size of him, I think it was about 9 pounds I had just read that he gained from the Senior Bowl into the Combine. And Chase told us on the conference call tonight, he had no clue the Steelers were interested in him. He did have a good talk, he said, at that Senior Bowl with Mike Tomlin, but that was pretty much it. No interaction at the Combine. And kind of reminds me of when the Steelers took Juju Smith-Schuster in the second round. He was one of those guys that I don't think a lot of people knew the Steelers liked a lot in that draft class.
Yeah, and this class, unique among a lot of recent classes, maybe most, if not all of them, and just how many receivers there were. And there were some big guys. There were some slot guys. There were some speed burner guys. It was kind of what your personal preference or personal need came down to, and there were going to be options. And having the big guy is an element, a physical element. You can't scheme that. You can't coach that. And now they have that. But they've also got a guy, again, we talked a minute ago about him being a football player and a willing special teams participant. This is a quote from Notre Dame head coach Brian Kelly that was presented by Dane Brugler of The Athletic in his draft preview, that massive book that he puts out.
Oh, yes.
Kelly says of Claypool, quote, "I haven't had a player that has his kind of consistent competitive drive week in and week out, and that's how he practices as well." And you think about where this guy came from, Missi, Abbotsford, British Columbia. Not exactly the hotbed. He put his stuff on Facebook, and when we talked to him, the story I had heard was he did that to get himself noticed. He told us tonight that, he kind of did it so his friends and family could see what he was doing on the football field, but that got him into some summer camps and some situations where he was observed more than he probably was in Abbotsford, British Columbia. I don't know how many recruiters get up there. I'm guessing not a whole lot do, but he ended up drawing a lot of big-time college attention. Michigan, Nebraska, Oregon, Washington, Mississippi State, Tennessee. He winds up at Notre Dame and just got better there every year. The senior year production was off the charts, 1,037 yards on 66 catches and 13 touchdowns. That's numbers are nice. That one under the touchdown column, I don't know that some fans may not pay enough attention to that. I know coaches do.
Yeah, and you also talked about some of the other things that he did growing up in Canada. Was into BMX, karate. I had read really good at basketball, and he was asked on the conference call with us tonight, why football? Why did you stick with it? And he said there was just something about it, and I felt like that was meant to be for me. And hey, it worked out. You heard your name called, and you are now an NFL player.
Yeah, and speaking of that other sport, his affinity for other sports, he averaged, according to Brugler, over 40 points a game in basketball in
Pretty good.
2015. And I'm kind of a fan. You got to know how to play football first. But if you're a football player who is also good, depending on your position at basketball or wrestling or track, I mean, these are all positives. And they got a big guy who apparently really cares a lot about playing the game no matter what you ask him to do. He's been productive. He's from a big school that's played in big-time games. He's worked hard. He's kind of a self-made man. Not a perfect player. Few of them are coming out of college. He's got some things to refine to better prepare himself for the NFL. But they hard not to say they got their man.
Yeah, Randy said he didn't know for sure, but was pretty sure that Ben Roethlisberger would be excited to add him to the Steelers offense. Jason told us afterwards that he did talk to Ben very quickly on the phone. Juju's already texted him, so I'm sure he has a busy night ahead of him as he gets acclimated to his new teammates and coaches. So
you think Ben likes having a big 6'4" plus receiver? Yeah.
I think between him and acquiring Ebron, Ben's probably pretty happy right now.
Yeah, and I think the way this worked out, they maybe weren't sure who their man was going to be going into it, but they got their man. They got the body type, they got the resume, they got the attitude, they got the intangibles. So good start.
All right, Prisuta, thanks as always for joining me. I will see you after the Steelers' next pick.